Rest assured, your family, your future are my fight.
Governor Hochul laid out her priorities for the year in her annual State of the State address in Albany today. Meanwhile, reaction is pouring in from state lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. Later tonight, you'll hear from State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins and State Assembly Minority Leader Will Barclay.
Abolish ICE! Abolish ICE!
Here in the city, members of the City Council rallied today to call for the release of a council employee who was detained by ICE agents. For the best news, debate, and analysis of New York politics, join us inside City Hall. Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. I'm Errol Lewis. In her State of the State speech today, Governor Kathy Hochul told New Yorkers that she intends to be a bulwark against Donald Trump, pushing back against the president's immigration actions and budget cuts. She also embraced some of the talking points of Mayor Mamdani, saying that she wants to bring universal child care to the entire state while also making it more affordable. Our State House reporter Bernadette Hogan was inside the Egg, the Performing Arts Center in Albany, for the speech, and joins us now with tonight's top story. Good evening, Bernadette.
Good evening, Errol. And the governor's fifth State of the State speech hinged on several points. Number one, she was trying to remind New Yorkers of what she thinks are successes over the past couple of years in office, everything from housing to reforming public safety laws, as well as spurring economic development, reminding New Yorkers of tangible projects that she's been instrumental in pushing forward the Penn Station renovation, also pushing forward the Interborough Express that will connect Queens to Brooklyn. And she also name-checked two individuals specifically. Number one, President Donald Trump, and how exactly her administration, and she specifically, has handled that administration. She talked about how she was able to keep congestion pricing in place while also battling him on federal immigration enforcement, announcing a couple of new proposals. Number one being that she wants federal officials to be able to be tried in state courts should they be found or accused of violating New Yorkers' constitutional rights. Let's take a listen to what she talked about when it comes to ICE enforcement.
Public safety will always come first, but it must be pursued lawfully and with humanity. We will not allow masked ICE agents to storm our schools, our daycare centers, our hospitals, our houses of worship for civil immigration raids.
And the governor is up for re-election, and as she goes forth over the next couple of weeks and months, pitching her bid to the entire state, she really focused quite a bit of gratitude and even praise for New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who just successfully won just a couple of months ago and was able to be inaugurated, specifically on the affordability promise and also his promise to deliver universal child care to New Yorkers. The governor says that it's her vision also to expand that statewide, but specifically gave Mamdani some praise during her speech. Let's take a listen.
Building on over $8 billion in child care investments we have made since 2022. And this plan will ultimately deliver universal child care for every single family in New York, full stop.
But the governor failed to mention a couple more controversial portions of her record. Number one being the fact that the state has missed consistently some of the goals put out in the 2019 climate law. She also approved a natural gas pipeline, which those on the left end of the Democratic Party are very opposed to, and has even caused them to endorse Antonio Delgado, Hochul's current lieutenant governor, who's also running for her job. And then also she didn't talk about taxes and whether or not they will have to inevitably possibly come into play for future payment of the child care plan, as well as other policy proposals that Mamdani supports. Mamdani did not back away from his support of raising income taxes and raising taxes in general. Here's what he had to say to reporters after the governor's speech.
And our city also plays an outsized role in supporting the state. That in itself is a legacy of the prior governor. And we also have to ensure that we have the resources not only to fund our affordability agenda, but also to fund the demands of our city's budget. And that's also an agenda where we made explicit to pay for by raising taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers and the most profitable corporations. And I look forward to making the case directly to our partners in Albany as to what our city needs to not only be able to operate sustainably, but also to fulfill an agenda that will keep New Yorkers in New York.
So that was Mamdani, of course, making the case that New York City's needs should actually preempt all of those other concerns that the governor has currently with raising taxes. Errol?
So now, Bernadette, when the mayor talks about his child care proposal, he says that people should have this as an alternative so that they won't leave the city, that sometimes if they don't have an alternative, they end up picking up stakes and leaving. Is the governor applying that same logic to the state as a whole?
You know, the governor has a line in there where she said more college grads are moving to New York than ever before. College grads are not without attachment, right? Or they are without attachment. They're not dealing with families. They're not dealing with kids. The governor was trying to talk about the bright spots throughout the past couple years in office, but also, you know, kind of staying away from those issues about migration and then massive concerns that even Kathy Wild, the outgoing head of the Partnership for New York City, the massive business group, says that, you know, the governor really needs to take some heed, and so does Mayor Mamdani, when it comes to creating jobs, and that will also be a way to keep people in New York City.
Okay, thanks very much, Bernadette. City council members and employees rallied outside an immigration and customs office in Lower Manhattan today, demanding the release of a council staff member who was detained on Long Island after showing up to a routine immigration hearing. Our Kelly Mena joins me now with more on that. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Errol. And there was dozens of people at that rally earlier today in the wake of that detainment that has sparked a widespread outrage, starting with his colleagues and local government.
DHS, ICE, you just crossed the line.
We demand ICE get the hell out of New York City. We do not want you here.
They are angry, they are frustrated, and they want the release of their colleague. City council members, alongside the Association of Legislative Employees and Advocates, on Tuesday demanded that immigration and customs enforcement officials release a council employee who was detained.
From council members to staffers to everybody who works at this institution, we're going to do everything we can to bring them home.
On Monday, a council staffer who is not being named was detained by ICE officials after showing up to an immigration appointment on Long Island. The Venezuelan immigrant used his one call to reach the council, which has denounced the move.
We are fighting to protect every single immigrant New Yorker, yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
They are not coming for just criminals. Nope. They're coming for all of us.
The staffer is a data analyst who works in the council's Human Resources Department. Speaker Julie Menon said the staffer had legal status and the right to work in the country through October of this year. But the Department of Homeland Security has disputed those claims. Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin, in a statement, said the staffer overstayed a tourist visa and had allegedly been arrested for assault in the past. But both the New York and Nassau police departments told New York One the staffer does not have a criminal history with them.
There are many times when the law is the law is treated as sacred and immovable. But the truth is, the law is not justice. The law is not safety. The law is not ethics. The law is a political tool.
The council staffer is believed to be held at 201 Varick Street in Lower Manhattan, where the group was protesting.
When we fight, we win.
Lawyers for the New York Legal Assistance Group have filed a motion challenging the detention of the staffer, known as a habeas petition, which is preventing his removal for now.
We are not going to stand idle. When one of ours is disappeared, we will stand up.
And that staffer is expected in court on Friday afternoon, where a judge will hear his challenge to his detainment, Errol.
There's a portion of all of this that seems to be recurring, which is that the person is, say, detained in Long Island and then sort of whisked into the city, and nobody's really sure exactly where they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what some people say, critics of this operation, you could say, in the city, say is part of their strategy, trying to move them quickly overnight so you can't really reach them. You're not able to talk to them about the conditions of where they're at locate them or even help them with their legal assistance. You know, in a statement from the Speaker and Congressman Dan Goldman earlier today, they said that they haven't even been able to directly speak to the staffer or his attorney in this ongoing case, that this has been kind of through third parties and these organizations that they've been able to reach him. But who knows going forward and what could happen after Friday.
Okay, thanks very much. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, an aide to former Mayor Eric Adams was officially charged with bribery in federal court today. We'll bring you those details. Meanwhile, Adams' NYC token, the digital cryptocurrency that he launched yesterday, is already embroiled in controversy after its value crashed. We'll explain next. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure. Why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Former Mayor Eric Adams is out of office, but there's still legal fallout from his administration. Today, Anthony Herbert, a longtime community activist who worked in the Adams administration, was facing bribery and extortion charges in federal court. Our Dan Rivley was inside the courtroom for his arraignment and has the details in this report.
And the security company.
Anthony Herbert, who worked in Eric Adams' administration, had few words for reporters leaving federal court. He was arraigned on bribery and extortion charges. It's a change of pace for Herbert. He's used to speaking with reporters, often on the scene of shootings and murders.
They're brazenly pulling out guns in broad daylight.
Federal prosecutors allege Herbert, working in Mayor Adams' community affairs unit and as a liaison to public housing, took $11,000 in bribes from a security company executive, $5,000 from a funeral home director, and $20,418 in a loan from the federal pandemic-era Paycheck Protection Program. Herbert purported to be a seller of baked goods and secured the loan with an allegedly phony invoice for an 80s-themed orange, blue, black, and white tie-dye colored cake, the indictment says.
Disputing the charges, he's entered a plea of not guilty, and we're just going to let the case play out in court.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Herbert's attorney, Richard Washington, pleaded not guilty on Herbert's behalf at arraignment. The indictment includes remarks taken from alleged recordings of Herbert and centers around 2 unnamed businesses. Herbert, in text to Mayor Adams, allegedly encouraged the contracting of private security at public housing developments through the Minority and Women-Owned Enterprise Program, or MWBE. Herbert, allegedly in conversation with the security executive, detailed his discussions with a senior administration official. I told him it's important to the mayor that we take care of our MWBEs. Herbert also allegedly told the security executive, "This is what we do, bro. This is what we do. And ain't nobody gonna do it for us." For the funeral home director, Herbert allegedly took a $5,000 kickback for delivering more than $24,000 in public money meant to cover funeral expenses for families unable to afford it. When a senior administration official questioned whether one family had money from online fundraising, Herbert allegedly lied and said he was unaware. In the courthouse, where filming is prohibited, Herbert told reporters, "These charges are bogus. I did my job."
Our Dan Rivley joins me now, and one of the startling parts of the indictment is that apparently there was surveillance and wiretaps going back to just the earliest months of this administration.
Right. In the indictment, what I noticed was the security executive was working with law enforcement and had all these recordings of their conversations.
Indeed. Thanks very much, Dan. Meanwhile, former Mayor Eric Adams announced a new cryptocurrency venture with the aim of fighting anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism. That happened yesterday. But within hours after the announcement, unusual activity in the market sparked accusations of fraud. Our Bobby Kuza has been looking into this, and he joins us now with more. Good evening.
Good evening, Errol. And when this was announced yesterday, there were a lot of eyebrows raised, in part because there was so little information provided about this venture. And then within hours of it being launched, there was some unusual activity that people, even in the industry, branded a scam known as a rug pull. On Monday, former Mayor Eric Adams was promoting a new cryptocurrency coin called NYC Token on TV at a Times Square news conference and in this promotional video.
You got some of the New York City token? We'll get you some, brother. This thing is about to take off like crazy.
And take off like crazy it did. Shortly after its launch, the value of the coin spiked, reaching a market cap of about $600 million. Data show that someone associated with the project then removed about $2.5 million in liquidity. The value of the coin then plunged.
In crypto, they call this a rug pull, right? So when creators tied to a certain token or a certain project, they take money and they run, basically. And the investors, or these so-called retail investors, someone like me or you, everyday traders, everyday investors, they're left holding the bag.
The crypto community immediately branded NYC Token a scam. But Adams insists otherwise, saying in a statement, after the launch of NYC Token, there was a lot of demand. Our market maker made adjustments in an attempt to keep trading running smoothly, and as part of this process, moved liquidity. The team has not sold any tokens and is subject to lockups and transfer restrictions. He added in all caps, the team has not withdrawn any money from the account. But skeptics question the timing. Eleanor Terrett is the founder and host of the Crypto in America podcast.
This happened at the price peak, which is the red flag here.
The same wallet that removed the $2.5 million later returned about $1.5 million, but that left close to $1 million unaccounted for. Jennifer Sinazzi is an executive producer and anchor at the cryptocurrency news outlet CoinDesk.
By taking that $2.5 million out, that is essentially money that you can take and put into any centralized exchange and cash it into your bank account. So that is $2.5 million that someone took out.
Sinazzi notes the SEC does not regulate this type of cryptocurrency known as a meme coin. But investors who believe they've been defrauded could file suit, and the NYC token is now under heavy scrutiny. Adams has not disclosed the identity of his partners, and the bare-bones NYC token website provides little information.
A lot of folks in this industry are looking at this project and have a lot of questions and not a lot of answers.
And one of those questions that doesn't have a real clear answer is whether this is legal. I mean, when I asked a couple of experts about it, they said it's really sort of a gray area. The SEC does not regulate, but there could be other entities that could step in. There could be civil suits that could yield, some action on the part of people who feel like they've been defrauded. But it remains to be seen. And, another interesting contradiction about the industry is that there have been a lot of scams, but at the same time, there is transparency in the blockchain process. You can see where the money moved. You can trace it back to the account that moved the money around. And so people on the internet, these sort of sleuths, were able to figure out where that money, who withdrew the money, and were able to tell that it was somebody that was actually associated with creating this project in the first place.
So we know it was one of the insiders. It's just that Eric Adams hasn't told us who the other insiders are, and he says it wasn't him.
Right, and then yesterday he said there are a couple of other partners that he's working with, and he actually said at one point during this news conference I was at, you can find those names on the website. The website did not have those names. The website has very little information at all, and then Mayor Adams left town. He's in Dallas and then taking off for Senegal, so we can't track him down to try to get some more answers about
Yeah, and this is, according to the industry people you've talked to, this is not the first time this kind of thing has happened, right?
Well, and, you know, interestingly, another person who created a meme coin that was widely viewed as, you know, doing some questionable activity was President Trump. President Trump created a meme coin. There's also one associated with Melania Trump right when he took office last year. So the question is, well, is the federal government doing anything about this? Certainly not coming from the top, although there is some legislation in Washington to begin regulating the crypto industry a little bit more tightly.
Okay, thanks very much, Bobby. It is time now for a break. Coming up, we will turn back to Governor Hochul's speech today with a focus on her transit initiatives, including expanding the 2nd Avenue subway. Stay with us.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for Onstage.
Onstage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.
It's only a hike. It's only made possible by Spectrum Business connecting healthcare providers of all sizes. Like hospitals relying on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network with industry-leading reliability. Practices keeping patient data safe with advanced security. Pharmacies accessing records in the cloud without fail. It's tailored connectivity solutions built for life-changing moments. It's only a hike. It's only everything. Spectrum Business.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York One to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Governor Kathy Hochul continues to support expansion of the subway system and efforts to make the system safer. Earlier today, she outlined some ambitious proposals as part of her State of the State address. That includes preliminary work to overhaul Jamaica Station and extend the 2nd Avenue subway west to Broadway. New York One Transit reporter Samantha Liebman has that part of our story.
Governor Hochul touted the transit project she's already funded in her State of the State address.
Critical infrastructure is finally being rebuilt, from the Port Authority bus terminal to our bridges and tunnels to expanding the 2nd Avenue subway even further.
This year, she added money for 2 more. The governor pledging $50 million to start the design to revamp Jamaica Station, a critical transit hub connecting the E, J, and Z lines with the LIRR and JFK's air train. Expected changes will include better waiting areas and improving people's ability to change trains.
So that if you're in the back of the train as you are heading east or in the front of the train as you're heading west, you don't have to make a mad dash to the other end and hope the escalator's working, hope the elevator's working.
While some riders see no issues.
Pretty easy, track 1, track 2, I don't know. They think they're wasting money.
Others say track changes are more frequent with the opening of Grand Central Madison.
You know, the Grand Central thing brought this whole thing about.
Yeah, the stations are not very convenient per se. There's a lot of last-minute track changes. Pretty crowded, yes.
The other major proposal, the initial design and engineering work to extend the 2nd Avenue subway once its current extension to 125th Street is complete, west to Broadway, which commuters say would help a lot.
It's very hard to get from east to west in a lot of places unless you're on 42nd Street or 14th Street. You really have to go out of your way. Sometimes I have to take a train up to 42nd Street just to come back down on the west side.
I had to cross Central Park from west to east just to make it to a place where I was trying to meet some friends.
So that would help you a lot.
The extension would add 3 more stations, Lenox Avenue, St. Nicholas Avenue, and Broadway, connecting to 7 more subway lines. Meanwhile, the governor continues to focus on subway safety.
We'll install more platform barriers at 85 additional locations and expand our elite mental health units to get people in crisis off the trains and into care.
She already announced $77 million to continue extra subway patrols, including overnights with cops on trains and platforms. Now there will be an additional 5 subway co-response outreach teams to address those mental health issues, bringing the total to 15 and adding platform barriers at 85 more stations, bringing the total to 200. Samantha Liebman, New York 1.
It is time now for a break. Coming up, we'll keep things focused on the governor's big speech when I'm joined by State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins. That's in just 2 minutes. Stay with us.
My time at New York 1 has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Burke.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network. And factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
In the weeks ahead, working with leader Stewart-Cousins and Speaker Hasty, we'll find even more ways to deliver for New Yorkers, just as we've done these last 5 years.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was Governor Kathy Hochul's final promise to New Yorkers during her annual State of the State address in Albany earlier today. The governor is pledging to work with state lawmakers to advance her agenda, including universal child care, pushing back on ICE, making it easier to build more housing, and other items. Joining me now with more on her address is State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins. Welcome back to the program. Good to see you.
It's always good to see you. And I know it's still kind of a happy new year, so I'll wish that to you and to your viewers.
Well, thank you. Same to you. What were your overall impressions of today's speech?
I thought it was a good speech. I really liked the focus. Certainly, one of the things that our conference has been so focused on has been this universal child care, pushing the opportunities for people all over the state to be able to take advantage of that. And so to see the governor's full-throated endorsement of that is important. We were able to kick off session last week, and certainly in my opening remarks, we talked about both universal health care, or rather child care, as well as affordability, and certainly the pushing back on ICE and making sure that all New Yorkers feel safe and that we are protecting our immigrant community. So I thought so much of what she said was right on point, and I'm looking forward to working with her.
Okay. In fact, I want to follow up on that. The talk about state liability for certain actions by ICE agents if they stray outside of state laws got, I believe, a standing ovation, as a matter of fact. Let's take a look at what the governor had to say about that.
Public safety will always come first, but it must be pursued lawfully and with humanity. We will not allow masked ICE agents to storm our schools, our daycare centers, our hospitals, our houses of worship for civil immigration raids.
And Senator, is that a hypothetical concern based on what your members are seeing in Minneapolis and elsewhere, or is this happening already now here in New York, as far as you're concerned?
Well, again, I think one of the other things that the governor mentioned was the fact that there was a gentleman just yesterday picked up, I guess, in City Hall, who had his authorization papers, work authorization through October, and all of a sudden he's in custody. So I don't know anymore what's hypothetical, but we do know what our reality is, not only as we see what's happening in our communities here, but also around the nation. So I know that it is a moment where we have to address this and put some reasonable guards in place so that people are not feeling frightened, intimidated, hounded, harassed for no reason without state legislators and the governor standing up on their behalf. So, I mean, I think we're at a moment now we've got to really address not only the hypotheticals, but the realities, and know that it could be our reality.
On a different topic, the governor talked about how crime is down across the state. And I noticed that that's despite fears and complaints about discovery reform that you and I have talked about in past years, bail reform. It's too early to know what the session's going to bring, but the fact that it doesn't necessarily seem to be front and center this time, is that proof that the reforms have worked as far as you're concerned?
Well, Earl, I know that what we did, what the legislature did, what we have continued to try and do again was just to make sure that people had justice. We know that bail reform became the topic for so many people, and our reality has always been that we knew that people were languishing in jails for misdemeanors, for nonviolent felonies, sometimes years at a time because they could not afford bail. And we didn't see that as being just. As well as discovery reform. We wanted to make sure that people have an opportunity to know what evidence folks have against them so that they can defend themselves properly. We have just sought justice, obviously for the victims of crime, but obviously for anybody going through the system as well. So I believe working with law enforcement partners, making sensible changes to our legislation as needed, but with the underlying principle of bringing justice to all in the justice system.
There's on a different topic, the governor mentioned something that we here in the city would call a third rail of New York politics, which is dealing with auto insurance liability. The question has come up before. We pay the highest rates in the whole country. The general assumption is that the trial lawyers have been so diligent at talking with and working with the legislature that no change is likely. Could this be a year where that's different?
Well, again, I think everybody is looking at ways to make life more affordable for New Yorkers. And so many of us obviously are faced with rising rates of insurance, and car insurance is one of those insurances. So we're going to take a look and see what the governor is proposing and see what we can actually do that could be helpful in this affordability crisis. So like I said, usually, as I usually say, everything is on the table. And obviously with the state of the state, there's a lot of broad strokes. And we always got to look at the details, and we're looking forward to doing that.
A couple of years ago, it was suburban communities, possibly including some in your district, that really pushed back against the development proposals that the governor was advancing to try and build affordable housing. She said in today's speech that 400-odd communities have opted into some of the incentive programs that she's put in place. And I know that one of those communities is in your district. Is it really true that rents have actually come down in New Rochelle because they've built so many units in recent years?
Well, I think that obviously the availability of housing on every level is what will help to bring the prices down. I also know that what the governor said was that she's offering more carrots. And just to be clear, we weren't pushing back against the housing proposals just to push back against housing proposals. We all understand the need, and certainly affordable housing has always been in the center of what we're trying to do. But we also realize that most communities want to be involved in whatever the plan is. And most communities do understand incentives. So I like the part where she said that she is offering more carrots. She did start out with sticks, and that was very much part of the pushback. So now I think we have carrots, we have sticks, and we have, state that are really pushing policies that will allow for more housing to be built. And I think that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. And even in terms of tenant protection, that was also part of it as well. And, we did good cause in the city and make it available outside of the city as well, so that people won't just, raise rents by 50%, 100%. So I think working in concert on a lot of different levels will continue to bring the housing prices down, because we want people to be able to live and thrive and stay in New York, not only to raise children, but to be able to retire.
As a final question, when we were reporting on some of the cuts that are coming down from Washington, especially in the social services area, and the evaporation of subsidies for health care, in particular for health insurance, it was expected that some of the burden was going to fall on the state. Would that happen if that does happen, would it happen in this budget, or would you be dealing with it next year in 2027?
Well, every day is a new day. So just last week, there was another, almost $4 billion that the Trump administration cut out of child care and social services. And, grateful that your attorney general with others pushed back on that because of a $10 billion hit across the country, only in blue states. And so there's been an injunction on that. So obviously, with our essential plan, 1.3 million folks in New York will be impacted by it. People having their insurance raised 38, 40%. So every week there is a new threat to our bottom line, but certainly we are trying to deal with as much as we can as it comes about. So the bulk of this, from what I gather, because the Republicans in Washington wanted to make a lot of it after the midterm elections, but the reality is that we are trying to find a way to meet the needs of New Yorkers. But again, urge New Yorkers to be very, very clear. We need federal partners who will push back on these different cuts, on the actual assault, frankly, on our ability to take care of New Yorkers. And I think if we all are talking to our congressional representatives and saying, please, let's stop the assault. Let's support people. Let's support economic development and healthcare. We will be in a better place. So,
okay.
We'll see what happens.
All right. Sounds like a very busy session ahead. Thanks for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a short break now. And when we come back, nurses are continuing to strike outside of hospitals in Manhattan and the Bronx. We'll bring you more after this short break. Stay with us.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer. As chief meteorologist at New York One, I'm honored to be able to help New Yorkers plan their day.
Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on, from severe weather updates to our Weather on the Ones. Watch the New York One weather experts with your Weather on the Ones on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now. My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Today is the second day of the nurses' strike at 5 hospitals across Manhattan and the Bronx. The medical facilities say they have hired replacement staff and that all units are open and accepting patients. New York One's Nia Clark spent the entire day at the picket line and filed this report.
I've been here for 20 years, and I love this hospital. I was a patient here. My son was a patient here.
But Mount Sinai nurse Carolyn Stevenson says nurses need a better contract. She's among hundreds of members of the New York State Nurses Association picketing outside Mount Sinai in East Harlem Tuesday. Union nurses allege hospitals are trying to reduce their benefits.
Fighting for health care. We need health care. It's important because you don't know when you're going to be sick. You have to have health care. And we all get sick one day.
The nearly 15,000 union members are striking at 5 hospitals: the Mount Sinai Hospital, Mount Sinai West, Mount Sinai Morningside, New York Presbyterian, and Montefiore Medical Center in the Bronx. They counter benefit packages are generous. For example, New York Presbyterian says it pays more than $30,000 a year for full-time RNs benefits and has made no proposals to reduce it. Union members say they want higher wages on par with cost of living increases.
I feel like we're being portrayed as greedy. We're out here, we're committed to the hospital, we're committed to the doctors, we're committed to the patients.
According to Montefiore, union nurses average $165,000 a year, and Mount Sinai says the RNs average $162,000 a year, excluding benefits. Montefiore says the union's asks would raise the average to $220,000 in 3 years. Mount Sinai says the average there would hit $275,000. But the nurses union denies the hospital's numbers.
The hospital came to us and said, $4,500, you could either use it for your medical or you could either use it as a raise. You do whatever you want to do with it.
NISNA is also accusing Mount Sinai of unlawfully firing 3 nurses just hours before nurses went on strike and unlawfully disciplining 14 vocal nurse leaders. Mount Sinai tells New York One, quote, "We terminated 3 nurses last week for interfering with patient safety by deliberately sabotaging our emergency preparedness drills ahead of NISNA's strike, including hiding supplies from agency nurses who were in training so that they were prepared to help Mount Sinai continue to deliver patient care." In a separate statement about union negotiations, a spokesperson for New York Presbyterian says, quote, "We have proposed significant wage increases that keep our nurses among the highest paid in the city, enhancements to their outstanding employer-funded benefits, and new measures that reflect our shared commitment to safe staffing and workplace safety." The union is also asking for better protections in the event of workplace violence, including extra security measures like metal detectors. Reporting from Manhattan, Mia Clark, New York One.
It is time now for a break. Coming up, the top Republican in the state assembly, Will Barclay, will join me to talk about his thoughts on Governor Hochul's State of the State address. Stay with us.
We have so many ways to stay connected. A single touch can bring us closer to the families we love, the friends we know, and the city we share. And Spectrum helps us keep connected throughout the day, every day. Including more ways to watch New York One as a Spectrum Internet customer. Watch Spectrum News New York One on the Spectrum News app, available on all your favorite devices.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it's saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are turning back to Governor Hochul's State of the State address. Earlier in tonight's program, we heard from Andrea Stewart-Cousins, the Democratic State Senate Majority Leader, about how she plans to help the governor deliver for New Yorkers. Joining me now with his perspective is the Republican reaction from Will Barclay. He is the State Assembly Minority Leader. Welcome to the program. Always good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
What was your reaction to the governor's speech? What did you make of it?
Well, the first thing that struck me, I don't know if you caught this, but at the beginning of her speech, she said, we're New Yorkers, we get things done. We don't point the fingers or blame on anyone else. And then she spent about 75% of her speech blaming the president and the congressional Republicans for all the problems we have in New York. I thought it was a bit interesting. She hasn't mentioned that, she's been governor for 4 years, and the Democrats have had one party rule in Albany for 7 or 8 years. Certainly some of the issues she talked about, like affordability, number one, I think the blame for affordability certainly can be laid at the feet of the Democratic Party in New York State.
Yeah, I was wondering what you thought of that, because on some of the items that she talked about, like slashing bureaucracy and dealing with the high cost of insurance, these are items that I've seen your name attached to one press release after another for about a decade now.
Yeah, well, we have been talking about affordability for a long time, myself and the Republican conference and the Assembly. So again, I'm happy when any of these state-of-the-state addresses and policies, there's a lot of stuff that even as Republicans that we can agree with, but we always look at also the big macro level. And the state has been a tax and spend state for a long time. It's been unaffordable for people. As a result, we have lost over 1 million people over the last decade. Until we change that mentality and change that policy around, I fear that they're going to continue to leave the state. And, I think Kathy Hochul's been a part of that problem. But that being said, there certainly were things we agree with. Just talking about the slashing the red tape, we have to look at that policy specifically, because I'm concerned what she really means by that, take away local control. So if it's taking away local control is her qualification for what slashing red tape is, I'd be very concerned about that. I don't know if that's what she's proposing, but that does concern me.
Well, I believe the words she used were environmental review. And I assume she meant, the acronym is SEEKR, but the State Environmental Quality Review, which is the master law that covers every jurisdiction in the state, that says you have to kind of tick through a number of different items before you can break ground, change zoning, and develop a lot of things. Was that your understanding as well?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Just hearing the speech, so we haven't had our policy people look over it. But if that's the case, and she's talking about streamlining the SEEKR review process, again, that's something I certainly can support. I feel Republicans would support that too. Well, there's no doubt we have a lack of housing in New York State because the regulations are so onerous that developers simply don't want to build more housing. It's too expensive. It takes too long to do it. So any way we can address that without, coming down heavy. She did say she's, is using the carrot approach rather than the hammer. So I appreciate that. But she's looking to streamline the process to get more housing online. That's something we could support.
Well, let me ask you about the big ticket item, because this really does get to the heart of where you might have a difference, but I think are sort of going in the same direction, which is this proposal for what is, I guess, by any measure, a fairly expensive proposition, which is providing free early education and childcare across the state. The idea being that it will help keep young families here. It will help people make a decision to stay in New York, maybe reverse some of the outflow. On the other hand, it's also quite expensive. What do you make of the proposal?
Well, our conference has always understood that childcare in New York is very expensive. In fact, we came up with the idea of increasing the child tax credit last year that got implemented. So we're happy to see that. We'd like to go farther with that. As far as the governor's proposals, one big concern I have is whether we have the infrastructure in place, even if we want to, fund all this. I think at the end of the day, they're talking that the overall cost could be $8, $9, $10 billion, which is substantial. But I don't know if we have the workers in place for doing that. Or are these kids going to be taken care of at schools? Are schools equipped to provide universal child care? So I think there's a lot of questions that go along with this. Ultimately, as Republicans, we like to give money back to the families or not take it in the first place and let them make the decision what they find the most appropriate child care is for them. I'm concerned when you talk about a $10 billion, say it's $10 billion program. Usually what happens is ends up being a very top-down program. It's not efficient. It turns out very often it's not the type of program that families want. So again, I appreciate her talking about the unaffordability of childcare, and we certainly agree with her on that. How to solve that problem, I think, is going to be a long conversation, and I can imagine we'll probably have some substantial differences in what the governor's proposing.
There was a part of her speech that also referred to automobile insurance and that we pay the highest rates in the whole country right here in New York State. Her proposal to deal with it sounded again like some of the Republican proposals I've seen over the years to sort of address the no-fault insurance regime that we have here in New York. What did you make of that?
Well, I wish her good luck. I've been around long enough. I remember the last time we tried to reform no-fault insurance, probably about 10 or 11 years ago, and that didn't go very far because there are some very entrenched interests in that, and to change the system is very hard. So I hope she uses some political capital to get that done. I think it's something that needs to be done. Clearly, there's a reason New Yorkers are paying more in car insurance or auto insurance. It's because of some of these policies that we have that unfortunately are driving up the cost.
Well, speaking of the issue of Washington and the Republican budget that was passed in conjunction with the White House, one thing we've seen, and I don't know about your corner of the state, but we've certainly seen downstate and in a number of other places that there are going to be hits that are going to really hurt the health infrastructure and make it hard for hospitals to operate, make it hard for people to maintain their health insurance, especially small business owners. Is that something that the state needs to be aware of and possibly be ready to react to in this session?
Well, I think sometimes you have to separate the rhetoric from the actual policy that's being enacted. Now, certainly New York is going to lose some money as a result of the COVID-era subsidies that we gave on Obamacare. So unless Washington changes, which I think there is a likely chance that they are going to refund those subsidies. And the governor's proposing to make it up with state funding. Apparently she can do that out of current cash now, so we don't have to raise taxes or increase revenue to do that. I think that's something like tune of, I think, $1.6 billion. But, you know, the big, beautiful bill and some of those changes in Washington, you said are going to affect healthcare. They may, but they may make it more efficient going forward. So, for instance, you know, able-bodied people that don't have children need to either volunteer or work. That may not, you know, if you look at that, I think most people on the street would say, yeah, that's sort of a common sense approach. Why are we paying Medicaid for those? And I think the Republicans in Washington say, yeah, this is a way to sustain this program. We can't afford to provide healthcare to, you know, every person out there. We should really be focusing on those that need it the most right now, and then, you know, maybe we can provide other policies in the future to provide or encourage people to have health insurance. So ultimately, we'll see how this all plays out. There, you know, the flip side of the rural hospitals where I'm from are very concerned about the changes to Medicaid, but they added what was an $80 billion program to help rural hospitals. So, and I think New York is in line to get a substantial share of that. So, you know, those policies went hand in hand. So my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, Democrats, always say this catastrophic results of some sort of reform to the system. I don't think that's necessarily the case, and I think that actually they passed some very good policy that's going to actually strengthen our healthcare system.
Okay, a lot of food for thought. We'll stay in touch throughout the session. I look forward to talking with you again real soon. Thanks for joining us, Will Barclay.
Thank you.
Okay, that is going to do it for tonight's show. Don't forget to join us tomorrow night when I'll be joined by Governor Kathy Hochul to talk about her speech and much more. Until then, thanks for watching and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You're done with the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything.
Hey, brother, be careful.
Movies.
I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
You're a superhero.
No.
Series.
There was another murder in the building.
Sports. Reality.
Here's to a summer you'll never forget.
News.
Here's a look at today's top story.
Exclusive originals.
You await your orders.
Even more of your favorites with live TV.
Welcome into First Take.
Stream across your devices and watch anywhere, at home or out and about. It's the entertainment experience you've been waiting for. Streaming apps included at no extra cost.
Just got that, pal. Get a good look.
With live TV and on demand. All together, all in one place for you to enjoy.
It's whatever kind of adventure we want it to be.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off